Oh, yeah.
Bless and love, my lords. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today, Chikai, as he's the founder of Monolith Gallery. Chikai is a seasoned NFT collector and an innovator in the blockchain and digital art space. He's the director of Web3 at Niantic Lab and was the co-creator of Google Earth. Well, his experience and passion for cutting edge technology is sorry, with his wealth and experience and passion for cutting edge technology, I cannot wait to chat today with him. Hello, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, GM. Thanks for inviting me. That's a better introduction than I could have given myself.
Well,
So I appreciate the nice intro.
this was the first time I tried it. To be honest with you, this is I'm going to be introducing a small intro of like two, three sentences I'm reading about the guest to do it from now on. So I butchered it a little bit, but I think we got it right. Also, let me welcome our co-host today, Dudley. How's it going, Dudley?
Hey guys, nice to be here with guys. I mean, all is fine. Saturday, let's get to it.
Yeah, first time on Saturday. First of all,
Yeah.
how do we pronounce your name? Sorry if I butchered it.
No, you pronounce it well. It's Chikai.
Chikai.
Yeah, I think that people in the sort of the global sort of international community tend to pronounce my name correctly,
Mm.
since it doesn't sound as unusual as it does in the US, where they tend to mispronounce it more often.
Yeah, it's a really cool name. Sounds very futuristic, you know, like from the
That's
future.
I appreciate you saying that. It's my real first name, and like I got, it was definitely not cool when I was a kid, but it's gotten cooler as I gotten older. So
All right. So, very nice to meet you. I'm excited for our talk today. Thank you for joining. Let's start how we usually start and explain to us with your own words your origin story, if you may, your coming into the space of technology and then into crypto, of course.
yeah, I mean, my I started off in a completely different field. My undergraduate and my PhD are in biomedical engineering, doing sort of 3D ultrasound research and stuff. And that's where I started. And when I was in college and grad school, I thought I was going to be a professor doing research at some university. But then I came out to Silicon Valley and completely just opened my eyes in this whole new world of just what's going on with the tech world that I had never seen before. And so I jumped into that afterwards. And soon after I came out to Silicon Valley, I left to start a company called Keyhole, and Keyhole was an offshoot of this other company called Intrinsic, where they were doing this sort of fly from outer space down to your driveway. And so, basically this sort of satellite imagery, aerial imagery sort of product. And eventually we got bought by Google in 2004, and the product became Google Earth and Google Maps. And so, that's sort of my big part of my tech history is creating Google Earth and Google Maps, or Google Earth for sure. Google Maps and Google Earth sort of combined together with another company that was also acquired by Google. But throughout that journey, eventually I left Google, started my own company, and the company was more in the messaging space, like sort of like a B2C messaging space. And it didn't work out. And as I was trying to, you know, shut down the company and sort of like do all that kind of stuff, I wanted something fun to do, and something to distract me because it's never fun to shut down a company. And I said, "Oh, look at this thing called NFTs, and I don't know what it is, but it sounds crazy." And like, why did Nyan Cat sell for over $500,000? I just didn't get it. And so I dug into it, and I started buying NFTs and bought another one, and another one, and uh, then I went down deep, deep down the rabbit hole, and that's my life for the last couple of years. So it's been a kind of a crazy journey. Each step was not anticipated, but I've enjoyed every step.
Would you say that since you found NFTs, you have been obsessed with them? And if
Yes.
yes, was that the case when you first found crypto?
You know, I had never touched crypto before. I had read about it. I had the white papers, and I, looked at what's going on, but I never ever had bought crypto before that. It was only to buy an NFT did I buy crypto, and that was my first step into that world. So I was very new to it.
Would you say that probably NFTs may be the first like mainstream use case that actually interests people?
Um, Yeah, I think it's mainstream in the fact that it has the potential to. It definitely showed a much more consumer relatable sort of entry point, and I think it's a potential that was shown. I think it's still to be determined how big it'll get and how it'll. There's a lot of hard work to be done, but it is one of those where initially I think a lot of the blockchain technology and a lot of even DeFi and everything else was much more of a technology sort of a change, a technology sort of evolution, or just just what was going on and a shift. But I think that NFTs were actually a cultural shift. It's a cultural shift to value digital property, digital ownership, in a way, in a more concrete way than it ever had been before. It never really existed. The idea of ownership and sort of digital property didn't really exist, I think, before until that happened. It sort of existed in microcosms like games and stuff, but not in the way that NFTs have come out. So,
Exactly, and this is what I really love about NFTs because you explain to people that with crypto you are in control of your money and no third party controls your money. Nobody fucking cares. And then you show this green frog image and say you can own that JPEG, and everybody's hair goes up, right? It's very appealing digital ownership and owning whatever that digital asset is, that you can own it. And it's a little bit foreign as an idea, since all digital content has been viewed as um, something ephemeral and something free that you can rip off the internet. But that's changing a lot, I guess.
yeah, yeah, I think that the ownership component is definitely huge. I think it's kind of a weird concept for most people to grasp, but when they get it, you definitely sink down pretty far deep. And it's one of those moments where I think you don't necessarily can pick what that moment is. I think we all try to explain it, but some point most people hit it and they just get it and they go deep down into it. But before then, it's a difficult thing sometimes for people to get. But once they do, it's definitely like it flips your view of the world for sure.
You are an artist, founder of a gallery, director of a metaverse, and you also not founded, but helped co-create Google Earth. How do you mix all of that into a healthy life, and how do you balance it? How do you balance your time and enjoy doing every single thing without burning out?
That's a good question. I definitely get less sleep these days, and especially when I first started, because it's so international. I would stay up late and wake up early because there was so much going on. But I think that um, you know, I think that if this was something I didn't really enjoy, like truly enjoy, I would not have continued it. And I think part of the thing that I have found, at least in this space, and especially on Twitter and social media, which is often something that I just not enjoy. I did not enjoy, like, being on Instagram and Twitter and stuff before. But the thing that has sustained me a bit on this case was that I could be myself. I could just be me, and it worked. Like, I didn't have to pretend to be this other personality to gain the followers and stuff. I just was myself, and the audience grew somehow. That still boggles my mind that happened.
Were you a bit of an outcast in your life?
I was definitely an introvert for sure. I
Hmm.
wasn't like the social butterfly going out there, like just being at the parties and enjoying it. It was a lot of work for me to mentally go out to parties and hang out, but because I'm more introverted. But the space, I found my people in some regards to go out and sort of, you know, talk to people that I want to talk to and hang out with, talking about art or talking about what's happening, and I really connected with this audience. And like I think it was a rare time when I go to like these big NFT sort of events like NFT NYC and sort of Art Basel and stuff. And I really had fun because I wanted to talk to these people. I enjoyed it. Spoke the same language. I mean, there's very few people you can talk to, at least in my regular life, about NFTs. It's such a foreign language that people just, it's hard to talk about it. But in those settings, everybody gets it, everybody knows it, and it's such a fun, enjoyable time. So it's not hard to figure out something to talk about. And you've probably all talked online already, and sort of the in real life connections are really meaningful. It just adds more to what already exists that we see on Twitter and stuff. But yeah, it's one part is like to answer your question about balance. I think one is that, but I also think as I've gotten older, I have kids and dog and stuff. If you love your kids and you love your family and stuff, when they come up and says they want to say like, hey, which they may do in this call, like during this thing, and they say they want to hang out with you, you have to put attention to it. The dog says they wants to play, then your attention is focused right in the moment of now. So part of it is, having something that'll bring you into the now and focus on what's going right in front of you. But sometimes is NFT stuff, but sometimes the dog wants to go out for a walk or the kids want to play Legos or whatever it's going to be. And that, if you love them, which I mean, of course I do, most people love their kids and their dogs, you get pulled into it. I mean, you want to be there for them for that. And so I think I think that that's what has kept the balance because my life says you can't always do it, but I probably spend a bit too much time on NFTs and a little bit more balance, but I think it's healthy because the now brings you back into the now. So
I can totally relate to that. I'm also not the most sociable dude out there. Like I tried, I thought I was doing well, but not really. But in NFTs, I also found more souls I would connect daily, and especially when we meet um, in real life events, it's like the connection that you mentioned. There is no awkwardness. It feels like everybody's like there and they know what's up, and there's a good feeling of belonging, would you say, in the communities that formed around NFTs. This is a sort of a reoccurring question that I find interesting to hear opinions about. um, why would you, since you are a technology OG, I would say, from Web 1 to Web 3, what, why do you think that people are more passionate and emotionally connected to Web3 projects than Web2 projects? You would not see anybody tattooing the logo of Airbnb, but you will see a lot of DeFi project tattoos and dick butt tattoos and whatever. What do you think is that?
um, I think you know there is a strong tie to community and to belonging to something that you all love. And that's what brought you together. I mean, whether it be PFP projects or 101 art pieces, you're all there because you love what was created. And I think that's always been there. I mean, people have tattooed all kinds of stuff. Like I'm sure, like like stuff from games or other characters, other sort of like pop culture stuff. They've tattooed stuff on their bodies and stuff because they truly loved whatever it was, Star Wars or whatever particular maybe a brand or something. There's a love for it, and I think that is at the core of why a lot of the Web3 projects succeed is because you have people who love, I mean, just love in a way that is not rational. Is an irrational sort of connection to it that you just dive deep into it, and that's I think that collecting, I think art, I think a lot of these cultural things are something that go beyond what you may think you can add up in a spreadsheet and say, okay, this makes sense, and this is what I should like. It's not like it's just like for whatever reason, either because of your childhood or because of what you love inherently, like whether it be flavors of ice cream or whether it be colors, there's something that resonates that you can't explain, and when it resonates perfectly, then there's this huge magnification that happens, and that's the power that drives a lot of it. And it's sort of been the first time that I think two parts have happened, I think, in history. One is that for better or for worse, I think that it has become something that's very transactable. You can actually trade it, which was never really possible to put value on a cultural item at scale. And the other part is being international. Like anybody in the world could see this item and transact on it anywhere. There was no financial barriers. There's no currency trading, sort of like currency sort of exchange or anything. You just bought in Ethereum, whatever crypto you wanted to buy in, and it was there. And your audience was the world. And especially for art, I think most people who buy art would usually go to a gallery that's local, or they find some physical connection, or just having walked by it or having seen it at a gallery or in a museum. But in this case, it's like anybody in the world could see it at any time. So you've magnified your audience to the entire world, and you made it tradable instantly. You don't have to ship the item to somebody or wait for it to be manufactured. It's instantly transferred to you. I think those two things have created this unusual confluence of technology and cultural affinity to these, pretty iconic art pieces of art, to characters and everything else, which I'm sure 90+% will no longer exist. Like I'm sure a lot of, just general pop culture stuff, but some will last decades, if not, many centuries to come.
Is this the reasoning behind you founding the gallery?
The gallery was, something that I did, and I think the core part of it was curation, because the future that I wanted to see for the one-on-one art world, and this is not for all NFTs, but specifically the one-on-one art world, I wanted to see a world in which what told me what to buy, how I discovered what to buy, was done through people and other humans, and not through algorithms. Because a lot of Web 2, the way the discovery problem was solved for at scale, when you had so many people posting stuff and so many people coming online, and it grew to this next scale. I think the problem was solved by algorithms, and that has definitely in some ways helped, but some ways made it worse, in terms of just being discoverable and finding stuff. And so my hope is that I wanted to push forward this idea and to promote and encourage not only just my own platform, but other platforms to embrace curation and have it be a core part of their ongoing strategy. And so that was my goal with Monolith. And so you know amazingly, since I started, every major platform is adopting curation, and human curation, and making it so that they are part of the ecosystem, not just as a member, but also a contributor as well as a financial they reap part of the rewards also of transactions and stuff. So they're all part of the ecosystem, both financially as well as another actor within the system.
Yeah, we also created a curation board, and we're applying more focus on curation. And our project will come out in curated shows with 7 week spamming shows with every week featuring a different artist. And I think you're right. In general, curation is very important. However, not gatekeeping. Curation definitely has a place on the space, and it's very underlooked right now, overlooked, sorry. And you also mentioned discoverability. I would like to put uh, my comment here. Don't you think with the advent of AI right now and all those wonderful things that algorithms can do, that discoverability should be left to the algorithm and curation should be left to humans?
Um, it depends how you want to discover. I mean, it depends on what problem you're solving in the regards of like the algorithm AI compared to humans. I think there are two elements that I think that are part of it. One is just someone who's knowledgeable and knows about it and understands the space. And the other part is provenance and trusting that the artists are legit and they're not copying stuff, whatever. And we have some of that through technology and some of it through sort of like just people. Like you look at and you do research and make sure that they're committed and stuff. And so I think that, for in general, I think for one-on-one art, I do want a human I want someone to tell me. I want to believe in the person's taste and their commitment to sort of doing curation or just looking at the space and deep learning of like
Sorry to
what
cut
that space.
in, but
So go ahead, go ahead.
for example, the algorithm can learn your taste and can tell you, okay, here is like 30 new artists that came in the last month that you should check that, and their work is original, like there's no other trace of it, and it can scan it in like a few seconds, and like the results that will be presented to you would be of very good quality. So I don't think humans can achieve this level of analysis so fast and efficiently. However, when it comes to more um, art purchasing, where there are more dynamics involved rather than discoverability, but also market dynamics, social dynamics in play, as you said, provenance, maybe that should be left to humans, because this is the way I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I mean, just I hear what you're saying in terms of the elements of like what they're getting better all the time, and I think that it goes back to the question of, for at least for me, and this is a very personal reason why I'm involved in what I want, and I think the nice thing about NFTs is that everybody can have their sort of their tribe, their small group within NFTs. NFT is not this one giant thing, but there's all these diverse communities and you can value different things, and that's the amazing part. But so for the part that I enjoy, I think about, okay, look at my buying experience, what I'm doing, why do I buy it, and what do I enjoy about it. And the one thing that I truly love, and if this were gone, I probably would never have been in NFTs, which is the human connection, connecting with artists, connecting with people. And if you connect and discover through people, then you connect to other people and you connect to artists. And that dialogue and that relationship with the artist is incredibly uh, a huge joy for me. I really, really love that part of it. And if that were not there, I don't think I would have stuck around for NFTs. I mean, one thing I've said before is like, I came for the art, but I stayed for the artists. I mean, it's very true. Like, I mean, not only the artists, but the collectors and curators and all the builders who are in the space. Like, that's why I'm here and that's why I stay around. And if that were gone and sort of abstracted through an algorithm, I'm not sure I would be here as much. And so, that's just for me, but that doesn't mean that that has to be what everybody does. It's just I think the core part of anybody going into any space is know what you enjoy, what you love, and why you're here, and make sure you keep true to that. You don't have to go with the trends of what other people are doing or what they're buying and stuff. Just make sure you know why you're here and keep true to that sort of core sort of gut feeling.
I love it. I love it. And it comes back to what we were discussing earlier, the sense of belonging and how much these digital communities mean to people. And it's wonderful they also have like a monetary incentive. I think it's something new, and probably community is a word that not accurately describes what is happening with those NFT projects, since everybody also has a monetary incentive that sometimes takes the back seat or not. Um, you recently released your project, your new collection, Circle of Friends. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. I just launched that only last week, and it was not planned. I had the idea still in the back of my head, and I was like, oh, I should do like this. And I sort of did it on, I think, Sunday, and actually made it happen. And I asked my friends who are, sort of I paid homage to in that collection, say, hey, do you mind if I release this? And they all said, yeah, this looks great. I love it. And then I released it. And I released it on a Sunday night, almost no sort of pre-announcement. I wasn't hyping up at all. I just dropped it out of the blue. And then less than 10 minutes, I don't know the exact time, but it's definitely less than 10 minutes looking at my DM history, like it sold out. And I was like, what happened? Like I was like, I thought something had gone wrong. I thought I'd gotten botted. I thought something horrible. I didn't set up the drop correctly. And I started digging through it. I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is not as okay legit. And then all my friends started to DM me and say, hey, what happened to this? Like I went to get a cup of coffee or whatever and came back and it was minted out. And then the next thing that happened was that it wasn't just, if it was just a bot, I think Imagine it would just been drained and not been it. But like the volume started to increase. At first, no, it was like 9 ETH. Oh, that's cool. And it's like, hey, yeah, it's doing all right. Then my friend said, no, it's 18 ETH. And I was like, what? Then I checked again. It was like 21 ETH. And it went to 30 ETH. And now it's like over 100 ETH of volume. And the thing that has been amazing about it is that it's not just purely like a degen sort of like people sort of like aping into it, but there was, at least from what I could tell, and I think this is true. And I still, it was such a shock that I'm still like in disbelief what happened, or what's really going on, and so I'm still piecing together. But I do think the art component, the aesthetics, did please a lot of people. People really did enjoy it for what it was, both in terms of the aesthetics, but as well as the meaning behind it. That it was an homage. It was my love, embodiment of my love for the artists I work with, and I truly love their art as well as them as people. Like I do think they're good people that I want to hang out with. I trust my kids with. Like it was a genuine sort of expression of that, and so I think people connected, understood that, as well as, it was nice. It was actually aesthetically pleasing. Again, it's all the self doubt comes in because it just came out of nowhere, and like I don't consider myself an artist. It wasn't like my life's work. There are many more people who are incredible artists who have spent their whole careers building up their craft and their art, and so I feel a little bit of this, of course, is imposter syndrome, that because it just came out of the blue. But that was like, oh my goodness. That mean I don't even know what to do with it, to comprehend it yet, except to try to appreciate it for what it is, and then continue it to further. Uh, I think the goal for the last couple of years of trying to bring more visibility to artists. It is a vehicle. It is a moment. It is an opportunity to bring visibility in a way that connects two communities that I think are fairly separate and often maybe don't get each other sometimes, which is the DJing community as well as the one-on-one art community. But if this could be a bridge for that, that would be amazing, because I can say, hey, here's these colors. It's great. It's very collectible, but this is why this color exists. This one simple color, or this set of colors, is it ties into this other person's art. Now go check out that person's art and dig deeper into it. So it starts. I'm hoping it creates questions across both sides, as well as the details, like what's going on, which I'm asking and learning more about it. And it's not the way I thought my 2023 would start. I had other plans, but this completely took me by surprise. But I think a lot of projects are like that. Like I remember, like I was listening to, there was a Proof podcast listening yesterday and talking about like the beginnings of Comey Squiggles, and you know were CryptoPunks. They couldn't give them away. It was just then it just blew up out of nowhere. So it was somewhat of an accident that sometimes these happen. Sometimes they're very explicitly intentional, but sometimes these cultural phenomenons are not planned. They're accidents, and then you just ride that wave and try to stay true to what it means, as well as being responsive and respectful of the audience and the community that has formed around it.
Oh man, I could really connect when you were describing your project exploding in popularity and the sales, and then feeling a little bit of an imposter syndrome. And that was 2021 when we were launching 300 gazettes and they were sold out in 20 minutes. I can like the people who have been in the space and felt some kind of success and rush like that does not compare with anything else, man. I would say
Yeah.
better than cocaine for sure.
I mean, it is like I've heard about it, I'd read about it, but I had never experienced it firsthand. Even 2 years in, I was never part of a being aping into a project and having gone through it. But like that, this was like I had never had it directed at me and something I had created. So that was just like I literally was shaking at some point, saying, I don't even know what to do because I don't know if this is real." And like I hadn't even have the thing in my mind is I should tell people it's sold out. Like my mind was like just like completely in shock of what's happening. So, but I'm slowly like processing it and sort of understanding it more and more.
Yeah, well, Dudley just informed me that he has some listening issues. So, if because Twitter Spaces is a little bit wobbly, if we disconnect, we will reconnect and continue. Just FYI. Um, Sorry to break the vibe with this little bomb there, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, no, but Circle of Friends is really cool. We will definitely be getting one. I told Dudley to scoop one, so we are also inside this Circle of Friends. It's really,
Yeah, that'd
really
be
cool
great.
concept. Yeah, I really enjoyed how you described the whole thing, and it's very simplistic and very inviting, through simple circles and explanations of why and the narrative. It's really cool. It promotes arts, and yeah, we definitely vibe with that. Um, but through your prism and through your own personal lens, what would you say are the differences that you find striking between the trad art world and NFT?
Um, I think that the two parts I can think of, I mean, the biggest difference is like the trade art world does not understand the value of a digital property and digital ownership. So that's the biggest leap between the two. But if we put that aside and just focus on the art, because it's art whether you're in the trad world or the NFT, it's art. Period. There's no difference in that regard. It's just a different format. I think the thing that is different is what I mentioned before is that one, like this is a market that can be accessed by anybody anywhere in the world. There is no barrier. You don't have to be part of a sort of like a vetted group of people that has like to be able to bid on pieces. It's not for an exclusive group, but anybody with a wallet can participate. And so your audience is like the entire world of the crypto world, but also anybody. You don't have to have credentials necessarily to be like an art collector. It's like you can just go in and just do that. The other thing I think is fundamentally different, and these are mainly so that's accessibility and sort of the audience. The other side is the speed, the ability to acquire and own a piece is like seconds. Like it happens instantaneously. There's no shipping. There's no that's inherent to digital assets and stuff. And so the speed at which these can be bought and sold is incredibly fast compared to anything that's ever happened in the history of art collection. Like it is physically sort of just physically, just like time wise, physically faster. And there's the provenance. Like there's much stronger provenance than in the past. It's much, it's a different because of technology and the cryptographic nature of it. There is a ability to prove that this was created by this person or minted by this person. So and so I think those together creates a very, very, very different dynamic. And I think it's both good and bad. It's not all good. And with any brand new technology, it can be used for good and bad. So I think there's both components of it. But I hope we shift and we build, structures and sort of, practices where we, shift toward the good versus the bad. But it completely changes the whole experience as well as the mechanics of what it means to buy art or sell art even. Because before, if you bought a piece of art, there was almost no liquidity. Like now, it's significantly easier to sell the art, which was not possible before. You could not, like, if you bought a piece of art at a gallery and then say, okay, like 5 years later, I want to sell it. I don't know how I do that. Like, in what the market is, what the price should be. It's like it's not very transparent, and so I think those elements changed 10, 100, 1,000 fold, and because of that, everything changed in that world. And so that's the part that I think shifts a lot of the norms that happen in the trad art world, like the 50-50% in terms of like the commissions that people take. I think part of that is due to the fact that that's what they need to run their business. They cannot run their business that way unless they take that much because it's such a small market and focused, and it takes a lot of effort and just resources to sell that art. And also, I think the reason why it's more gatekeeping is because, you know, the money is tighter and more concentrated, and so you want to create these barriers to not let other people in, so you can survive as an art dealer, whatever it's going to be, or succeed. But all those rules are different in the NFT world, and so I think it's not necessarily the art or the art buyers are different. It's just the context by which they are placed into is 1,000-fold different. And just like the internet, just the speed of that just changed stuff. I mean, a simple example is like Uber. Like, the fact that you can get a car just by pushing a button in 10 minutes and hop in and not even have to pull out your credit card or cash changed the whole dynamic. So when they launched in San Francisco, the taxi sort of industry was a certain size, it came out big. But then when Uber came in, it expanded it and made it significantly bigger just because of the speed change effectively and liquidity changed. And just changing those two just completely changed the use case even of why you'd use Uber. Like you use it you would never have done this because you couldn't depend on taxi coming in and it was too expensive, or is a different sort of market. So I think that's the kind of change that's happening, that we don't even know what the impact will be until all the artists, I think, mainly figure out how to use it properly and to connect with their audience and their new audience.
You are also a collector, and as you said, you like your curation human. But what is your collector thesis? How do you go about collecting? What are some of the artists that you love to collect? And what are some of the artists that you would love to collect in the future?
Yeah, I mean, initially, so the one thing I would sort of preface this with is that I am brand new to collecting. It's even weird to call myself a collector because I feel like you have to earn that title a bit longer to really, like I said, have a thesis and sort of a direction. And I came in 2 years ago to sort of start collecting because I liked it. And I think as I've collected more, and because I tend to be I approach this often as a student. I've come in as someone who wants to learn, and there was an incredible amount to learn from artists out there, like to understand their craft, their process, and that's why I love behind the scenes videos and work in progress, because it gives me a little bit of insight to that. And I think most people know I love PTS videos, and so they often tag me in those posts. But But I love the process because I want to learn, understand, and appreciate the craft. And so that has been an education experience. And so I think my taste and my thesis is developing over time as I understand more what's going on and the history of it and the context of it, as well as with innovations happening. And so, I think I don't know if I have a direct thesis, but I think that part of it is, it's more about the artist and what they're trying to do and their commitment. Like things that I value are inherent to the artist and what they're trying to do. Because I think a committed artist to their craft, I think, is incredibly important. I'm finding what they're doing is also important. But also at the end, it is a resonance to the piece of art, and that resonance initially was aesthetic, but now it's more of how is it changing the world? How is it actually changing our view of the world, and how is it actually impacting the world over at large? And it could be social change. It could be change in the actual art medium itself. It could be just the message and sort of changing people's viewpoints about stuff. There's lots of ways it could change the world. It could be very subtle or it could be very overt. But I think the impact and what they're trying to do is important. But again, I feel very much I just walked into Walmart for the very first time, and I don't understand Walmart except there are all these things you could buy there. Like my kids went to Walmart for the first time; they'd never been to one. It's like, what is this place? You could buy Legos, you could buy all this stuff. It's like, and not realizing that there are multiple Walmarts in the world, but like if you're walking into this world, like I don't understand what's going on. I need to learn more. I mean, Walmart's probably a bad example. Maybe the MoMA or something like that. You walk in for the very first time, it's like, whoa, what is this? And you want to learn more, and you don't know anything, and so you have to build a sophistication for it. And it's I've also described it as like wine. Like when you first have wine or jazz, this is smooth jazz initially, or you drink like white Zinfandels because you can't go for the big cab initially because it's just too much. But you slowly graduate and refine your taste of what you like, and you like pitos, or you like cabs, or you like Syrahs or whatever, or you like French wines. You develop that over time, and you figure out what you like. And it's not about right or wrong. It's like you just have to develop your taste, and your taste refines once you understand what to look for and what the nuances are. So it's a journey, and I think I'll be earning that right to call myself a collector for a long time to come. And maybe someday I'll feel comfortable with it, but I think it's still very, very early for me in my career as a collector.
I love how humble you are about it. Most people, after collecting for 2 years, would rush to call themselves OGs. But I love how humble you are about it, and you are a student of learning and understanding and um, being connected to artists and art. And yeah, you express that from with your collecting. And I really love this approach, and I wish more people would also be more focused in that rather than acquiring OG status, especially self-proclaimed one. What has been an experience from all your years in tech and founding and being involved with successful companies and projects that you would offer, and it would be interesting to hear about.
Um, One thing that often it's said, but I think it's not always understood how truly true it is, which is there's a lot of failure before success. You have to fail. You can't be afraid to fail. You have to lean into the failures as much as the successes and learn from them and quickly recover and understanding when you have. So you have to admit when you be honest when you have failed, but also, of course, honest when you succeed and truly succeed. And that's the part I think is often sort of easily overlooked because you only see it after it succeeds. I mean, there were times for like Google Earth and stuff where we almost had to shut down the company, and we all took pay cuts or and all kind of stuff to survive. And luckily, it came through. And even for my monolith gallery, I had 3 or 4 other projects that I had done because I just enjoyed creating. that did okay but didn't succeed. And so it wasn't like my first thing I put out there and it succeeded and it did great, but it was like, you know, I had done several things before which did not really hit very well, and it wasn't the right product. And part of that is just understanding and realizing and accepting that it didn't work out and not sinking too much more resources into it, but just admit it and then move on. And then when it does succeed, recognizing it and doubling down. I think that you have to sort of embrace it for what it is. It may not be exactly what you had in your head, but you know success when you see it. So you've seen it enough times, you just know when it really takes off. And you also know it's just the beginning, and that the real success to come later on takes a lot more hard work and dedication and commitment to really realize the end result. And some people are very good at the very beginning of starting the idea, but they're not as good or have the sort of the mental sort of it's not their core to sustain it and grow it. And some people have both, and that's the thing that I think people will get as they mature and get older is that they learn how to recognize either their place or to do both or to know how to switch between the two, because what you do when you're 10 people versus 100 people versus 1,000 people, each doubling or 10xing for sure, your process of what you do changes dramatically. The same sort of tools and same sort of way you do things cannot be the same. And so I think that you have to evolve and understand that it's not like you're losing your roots, or it's not like the old days, but like it's evolving, and to grow with that to achieve something that you actually believe in. So in the day, I mean, a lot of at least what I do and what I think succeeded and what driven people is that you actually truly believe in what you're doing. If you do it for things that are external validators like money or fame or whatever, then the core of what you're doing is hollow, and so it tends not to succeed because you just can't commit to something that's hollow. But if you have a true mission, a true sort of thing you believe in from the deepest part of your soul, then that will sustain you and make you continue, even if things are going horribly wrong or nobody likes your stuff. You still want to do it. You still want to get up and go through it. And I think that's been what's been happening in the bear market is a lot of people who just loved this community, loved NFTs, loved the art, are still here because that hasn't changed. The art hasn't changed, the creators haven't changed, the people haven't changed, and just the market changed. And so the people who continue are there for those reasons versus the market. And that's, I think, long term will be who succeeds or who sustains, or if anything, like, I think people who be happiest. I mean, forget the money, forget everything else. The people who will be happiest in the end will be those who do it for the right reasons and can do it sustainably because they'll be with people and doing what they believe in. So I think it's more about long term happiness necessarily, like than long term wealth necessarily, but they tend to correlate if you do it long enough. But one doesn't guarantee the other.
Man, I love this. This reply speaks to my heart. Don't be afraid to fail. Even looking under rocks and finding nothing, it is moving you ahead. It is progress. Be persistent. Be believe in what you're doing, have consistency, and don't be afraid to try new things. I love all those advices, and they speak to me. And especially now in the bear market and all the struggles that every project has to go through, especially ours. And yeah, hearing that even Google Earth at some point was ready to fail is very inspiring. It really gives perspective and makes the people who are building something and are putting effort into creating to keep at it and believe in what they're doing even more. So it's definitely a good time to double down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I would do say, and this is the
Hmm.
part sometimes that people forget or feel like it's giving up, is in the end of the day, you have to, keep yourself healthy, both mentally and physically. So even if you feel like you take a break for a little while, to take care of yourself mentally or physically or to deal with life stuff. I think that's important because you have to be healthy in every aspect to be able to continue to create great work. You can't create great work when you're unhealthy or not at your, at your physical or mental sort of best. And so I think that sometimes it feels like you're giving up if you break away or step away from it. But I think in the end of the day, what's most important, I think, is your health. And to take care of that first, because that's the foundation by which you can do all the other things you want to do. And so that comes to your balance question before, is like just don't do it to the point that you're self-destructive in terms of
Yeah,
not
health
taking care of
first.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Being the director of a project directly linked to the metaverse, how do you define the metaverse? What do you see happening in the metaverse in the future? Do you see it as becoming the next big thing, or does AI seem more of the next big thing right now?
So the context, just to answer that question, give the context first, that I am the director of Web3 at Niantic Labs, and Niantic Labs is the creator of Pokemon Go, and so they're very well known for that game as well as their sort of technology and efforts into pushing AR. And I will distinguish AR from VR. VR is much more of the metaverse, and AR is more, let's say, the real world metaverse. And so I do, and the reason why I work with them, one is that the people who started Niantic Labs are the same people, or a lot of the same people who started Keyhole / Google Earth. So these are friends I've known for like 20, 30 years. So it was very much an easy place for me to go to because I just know them so well, and I trust them and so forth. But I think that the part that I like about their mission is this blending of both the real and the virtual. It's not just virtual, it's not just real, but it's this combined reality that enhances both. And I think that reality, I think, is very much manifested post pandemic. Because pre pandemic, if you take work, for example, work was all in office, you were in person. And then during the pandemic, you were all remote because of the pandemic. And then post pandemic, we didn't just go back to everybody in person at work, it was hybrid. It's a blend of the two. And so I do think that the future is more of this hybrid world than one or the other. And so I think they are definitely at the forefront of that augmented reality. And augmented reality does not necessarily mean like the glasses and everything else, but it's augmenting, like adding more, improving hopefully the world that you live in. So you're giving more context and more information and more value in the digital world and overlaying that into the real world to have something that's augmented. It could be just audio, it could be the full glasses thing, it could be lots of different things. And so I think it'll be an evolution. It won't be a knife edge where one day, oh my God, it's going to just change. I think it's going to be a growth into developing the technology as well as the use cases that actually make that real. And so it's something that I think, you know, I think that it's an opportunity that I think will be very interesting because for Web3 in particular, because there is this hybrid development now, because we were all made friends during the pandemic and we were all online, and now we're starting to meet each other in real life at all these conferences. We want to bridge those two somehow and connect those two so that they're not completely separate events, but they're more fluid between the two on a more regular basis versus just at these events. And so I see this technology as a opportunity to bring and bridge those two worlds on a hopefully on a regular basis that connects us all in meaningful ways.
How much has AI recent advancements impressed you, or you knew these things were going out right now? Because the recent updates on ChatGPT 3 is just level zero, and everybody's mind is blown. What do you think?
Oh, I'm definitely impressed by everything that's happening. I think that there is this interesting thing where I think AI has a long ways to go, yet it has made a huge leap in the past, let's say, decade with all the sort of the speech recognition or speech synthesis, as well as like visual side in terms of just like Dolly and Midjourney and that kind of stuff, and of course now with the text side, the text sort of like the Chat GPT side. I think it's all fascinating. I think it is very impressive. I think there is this blend of being impressed yet a bit concerned. I think that that's always been the case. I think people have talked about that, and so, but I think it's true of any new technology. Any new technology, if it's powerful enough, can be used for good or evil. There are both use cases for them, and it is up to us as humans to try to set principles and try to get the good out as much as possible, and to try to control or sort of just try to I'll say battle. Maybe it's battling, but like just to try to address the concerns of how it can be used for evil, because it will be. I mean, they can be used for both ways, and that's true of any major technology change that's happened. And so we have to be informed, and this is the one of the cases where it's moving so fast in some regards, the time scale of like more decades than necessarily days, but like, and also it is very complex. And I'd say that's even true of Web3, like with blockchain and everything else. Like what you have to know, the base knowledge you have to know to be able to do, let's say, regulation in the government or even societal sort of norms for something like blockchain AI takes a fair amount of base knowledge. And so I think there is a leveling up of our ability to understand and be conscious of and mindful of and hopefully do the right thing in regards to how this technology affects humanity. And so I think that is something that it's big enough that people will have to come to terms with it. I mean, it's true of the internet, through the printing press, it'll be true of AI and other technologies, that there will be a responsibility that comes with it, that we will have to find a way to do it, because you just can't assume it's all going to be good. It's going to be both good and bad, and we will have to find a way to sort of be smart enough and work together well enough to be able to navigate that.
What do you think will happen to the world's jobs? 1 billion people are working as drivers, and soon cars and trucks will be driving themselves. A ton of creative people that are doing some creative slash repetitive jobs like writers, logo designers, and all of those professions are definitely threatened. Do you think it's natural evolution, or as some people put it, it's a bad thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could see it both ways, bad as well as like, humans have faced this before in terms of just, technology changing and jobs going away and then new jobs being created. I think that, you know, I guess I believe that humans overall will be creative enough. Actually, let me rephrase that. I think that creativity will become more and more important in the future, because the creativity and the ability to be creative, and that's that core human sort of attribute, which I think is very hard to sort of replicate necessarily. But I mean, AI is getting better and better. But like, I think that notion, I think, becomes more important. Like the actual, the basic, as a driving stuff. I mean, that levels up, like, that hopefully you don't have to do it as much. But I think creativity and on being creative becomes more and more important in the future to succeed and be fulfilled. And so I imagine there'll be impacts. I don't know if I have a direct opinion about which way it goes, good or bad, but I do believe that some of it is like, I think it will happen. I'm not sure if it's good or bad or the right thing to stop it or to prevent it necessarily, but I think we need to understand it, and then we need to have people on the hopefully with good intentions and good sort of principles and solid values to be participants in that, to help guide it to the right place. And I think it's true Web3, we don't want bad actors to be the leaders. We want good actors to be the leaders. And so we need to make sure we put those leaders in place that are good, solid leaders who have the best interest of the community in mind. I think it's true of also AI. We have to make sure that those people are, are being supported in that way. But I also think that I guess I believe in the that creativity is something that will become more important, which I think is I like. I think that I like people have to be more creative in terms of succeeding and showing value, which I think is I personally like. But again, this will be hopefully a dialogue. It won't just be right or wrong, but I hope it's a dialogue between everybody who's participating to talk about it and to listen and hear and sort of, so be cognizant and mindful of each other because there'll be different opinions and impacts will be different. And I think that the only way to move forward is to have a dialogue versus necessarily making a judgment immediately and then going that way.
You remember in Silicon Valley when Guilfoyle said he will help Richard get the AI out in the open, just in case when AIs take over, they can see that he was a friendly one and they keep him as a pet. Do you see it like that also? That we have to be friendly now because they might take over. Because I see it taking over the world, and who knows if um, it will be like Terminator. I don't know, but it's scary. It's scary. It's a nice thought experiment. I'm not afraid. I'm super excited, but I will definitely be like Guilfoyle and send emails that I love AI. I'm already tweeting about it.
um, it is. I think it's a great thought experiment.
I
These
think
thought
it was
experiments.
called Rorco's Basilisk, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's funny. I don't know if I remember that particular. I love Guilfoyle as a character. He's such a
Yeah.
hilarious character. And that show is, I mean, in some ways, it was a bit, especially in Silicon Valley at the time when it came out, which I was very much in the tech world. And before I went to NFTs, it had so much truth to it in some regards. In terms of just the characters and the dynamics and the situations, because I personally had seen those, or some of those people who were featured in the show actually were friends with or knew them, and so like it was sometimes uncomfortable, but it was funny because it was so true. Mike Judge does a great job of being able to make us laugh about stuff that's very true, but it was so on the nose sometimes. It was a bit like because like you had personally faced that situation that everybody's laughing at. It's like, yeah, it's funny, but it's also very true. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that show is one of my favorite shows ever, and I'm still watching it and learning from it. It's so funny that they hit the nail on the head in so many aspects about investors and character stereotypes and all of that. It's insane. Um,
Yeah.
well, man, thank you so much for joining. This has been really, really interesting and exciting. And I would like to invite you again on the show later on in this year, whenever you feel like you want to chat again, or you are dropping something else with like circle of friends that we bought. And yeah, it will be an absolute pleasure to have you again on the show. And thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. Remind me where you are in the world. Like, where are you guys based? And tell me a little about Red Lion.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I'm personally in Greece. Dudley is in Czech Republic.
Yeah.
We are the co-founders of the Red Lion project. Basically, we are an NFT mint media ecosystem. We do news, we do the Gazette, we have Red Lion Studios. Um, yeah, so it's a really cool, fun project. It is our life's work, basically. Um, and we are also doing a lot of interviews, and in general, we stand for education,
Yeah.
entertainment, critical thinking, free speech.
We started as a
Um,
magazine, weekly dropped
yeah.
and covering the like weekly news. in NFTs and crypto, and it all developed in much broader activities
Yeah.
and endeavor. So, yeah, guys, great interview.
Yeah.
Very encouraging and inspiring, guys. I lost you for a moment as I was buying one circle. I don't know if it was
Oh no
connected
way.
somehow. Yeah, I was, but it was on my end. I lost the Wi-Fi, but anyway, it was really amazing. Thank
I
you for
appreciate you
joining.
trying to buy some. The floor is definitely pretty low
No,
right now. So,
yeah, I not tried. I did, man.
oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we have it in our
I
world.
love it. Yeah, we have a
Great.
wallet
Nice.
for the show, and we
Okay.
buy some stuff. We do a little buying here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me. I think it was Ilya or somebody had reached out to me
Yes.
about being on the show. So I do appreciate somehow discovered me and invited me on. It's been a great conversation, and I love how you guys are international in Greece and Czech Republic, and
Yeah, our
it's
team
Oh,
is
we have
worldwide
people.
basically.
Yeah.
We have India guys, we have US good dudes, in around Europe. It's international kind of.
yeah, I love that. I love that. It's a very global community, and
Yeah, and
uh,
we are also trying to reach out outside of our comfort zone to really uh, great people such as yourself, just to get communities together and like meet each other, get more people exposed to what you're doing and vice versa, yeah, it's a journey. It's really interesting.
yeah, I think it's great. I appreciate what you're doing. I think that I hope you much success, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And thanks everyone for listening here today with us. Tomorrow we have a big special show lined up with Silarwi, who is the curator for the first 7 weeks of Gazette drops. So the art drops for 2023, they are going to be curated by specific curators. The name of the curator goes on the metadata and also the name of the collection. So you can even screen by the curator's name. So it definitely plays a role in the artwork as they set up the whole concept and the whole collection. We are starting tomorrow with Silerwi, and he's going to be presenting and reading an essay he wrote. The 7 weeks collection is going to be about Pepe art, and it's called Pushin P. So join the show tomorrow to learn more about it. If you're listening from home or live, thank you so much for your time and listening to us. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Have a great one, guys. Thanks for
All right, you
coming.
too. Have a great one.